All right. Welcome to a special edition emergency podcast of the Buckeye Bar guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
I'm John.
How you doing today, John? We had a pretty good day today.
We got some good news. Definitely interesting stuff. So we'll touch on that here in a little bit.
Yeah. It was definitely a good day for us, for all of Buckeye Nation, Big Ten athletes, the football teams, their parents. So basically, we just wanted to record just kind of a special edition here to just kind of give our little rapid reaction to everything. So, um, as everybody knows, we've been kind of in limbo here for the last week. A lot of people. There's been rumors that we know the medical thing that they had their meeting this past weekend. So today's Wednesday, the 16th today, right? Yeah.
Right.
So
16th.
Wednesday the 16th. So we knew on Sunday they had their Saturday over the weekend they had their the medical meetings. They discussed, the TV meet. They had the TV subcommittees, the medical subcommittees, all their different subcommittees for the return to play, and we thought we got good news on Saturday that at least was going to go to the full committee, to the all 14 presidents. There was originally just 8 presidents. They moved it to the 14. And they talked on Sunday. We thought Sunday we were going to get something. There was a lot of different sources and media people coming out and saying that there was positivity coming from it. And then we found out, no, we weren't going to get anything, but we might get something in the morning. So that got moved to Monday
Yeah.
all day long. And then same thing with Tuesday. It definitely sounds like we were supposed to get it yesterday. We'll get it back into that in a minute because I saw some funny stuff yesterday. But we got it today. We pretty much the sources, a bunch of media people hit it up this morning that it was coming out at any moment, and it came out this morning. So, just your initial reactions on today. What happened, John?
Well, I mean, happy about today. We found out that we're going to get a season October 24th or possibly 23rd. It's going to be the kickoff for Ohio State. So obviously, I'm happy to hear the Buckeyes are going to be playing. I think that's a great thing. Initially, not I don't want to say I'm not thrilled with the date because I'm happy to have football. So I don't want to go there to the point where I'm still angry that it's the 24th and not the 10th or the 17th. I wish they could have pushed it up to one of those weeks though. I wish that was a possibility because that gives us just a little bit more leeway and what our ultimate goal is, what we want to do. So that would help out tremendously if we were able to play earlier. Going into the protocols that I read, again, those are some obstacles. It was definitely things that if Ohio State or anybody really, if you're testing positive, have multiple guys test positive, it's not easy to have the entire program shut down for a week. So, or it's not hard for that to happen. So that's definitely a concern. But all in all, I mean, it's great. You learned that you're going to get to play in the fall. You assume that you would have a chance to play for a national title, which I think we'll talk about that here a little bit more. But yeah, so initial reaction, I 95% happy, 5% scratching my head at like why this couldn't be sooner and why it has to be so strict right now.
Yeah, that's a lot how I kind of felt. It was when it finally came down, like I said, we kind of figured it was coming, even though it kind of seemed like that they were pushing it farther and farther. I know a lot of people were saying that, well, they're just pushing it off just so then they'll be like, oh, we ran out of time. I felt confident that they weren't going to be able to push it off that far because I think the NCAA has a requirement. You have to have at least 20 to 25 days of actual practice. So
Yeah.
I knew we still had a full week that somebody would eventually, most likely Ohio State, push it to, all right, we need to put a vote out here. And so it was a consensus vote there, a unanimous consensus. So all teams are playing. kind of had that figured the other day. We heard some rumors that Fox and ESPN and BTN had already were starting to divide up the 56 games, which would mean that there was all 14 teams were playing over 8 weeks. So we knew it was an 8-game schedule. Kind of found out some new things today. Kind of a little interesting that everybody is actually playing in the 9th week, which I thought was kind of cool, the way that they're setting it up. I kind of think that they're doing that to make sure everybody. I mean, I think that was kind of a bone they threw to Ohio State and Wisconsin. That definitely seems like that was a Gene and Barry type of move, and probably Penn State too. That's like
What you
that got
think?
everybody.
Just in case they lost and they didn't get to play in that championship game.
And I think it gives if Penn State or Ohio State are the number 2 in their division, that guarantees them a 9th game. That's if whoever wins that game between those two, that means that win is even multiplied up by another game.
Because they played someone that played 9 games.
Yeah, so so that kind of helps, and I definitely think that was a bone to throw to teams to try to get into the playoffs. That hey, we played 9 games, and everybody in our schedule played 9 games, and so the joke from yesterday was Nebraska's president kind of had a little hot mic moment in the morning. He said we're getting ready to. He was talking to somebody else. We're getting ready to introduce Big Ten football back tonight, and
football.
Yeah, and everybody was going with it, and then when they introduced it this morning, when they had their press conference, the assistant guy for the Big Ten accidentally said, tonight. So it seemed like that was supposed to come out last night. I think they held it till the morning just so they weren't hot mic'd into.
Yeah, I think so too. Which that's kind of a shame though, just to keep pushing it, even further. We got guys that have opted out that need to know as quickly as possible. So I'm not sure why that had to take though an extra, 5 days from Friday to be able to get that information out. That was another mishandling of this entire thing by the Big Ten that I can't believe happened. Like, why on earth did they have to, this stuff started on Friday as far as we know about it. And here we are on Wednesday and it finally got announced. But
yeah,
like I said, 95% happy, 5% still scratching my head.
Yeah. And I think when we'll be recording an actual full episode here in the next couple days, we'll probably get more into. I kind of want to study through more of the protocols because I was just so happy today that trying to get into the nitty gritty of the whole decision. I didn't have the. I didn't have the mental abilities to concentrate on that. So
no, I get that. No, I completely understand. With work too, it was hard. We never really got to sit down and read everything. I taped the most of the BTN, like the conference that they had with the committee members. So I'll listen to that later so I get a better idea of everything that went on as well. I mean, I feel like I got a pretty good understanding of the protocols, but again, gotta look into it a little bit more before we dive into it a little bit.
I know that they're strict. The one thing I do like, I think that this rapid testing that the way Barry Alvarez and Gene talked about it too, hey, we'll be able to test everybody every day. So the quicker, and we'll know almost immediately that they need to take a second test. They need to take the more, invasive, inclusive test the second time. So they can actually remove those people from the equation fairly quick. So I'm hoping that helps. That and just practicing good social distancing, wear your mask, all the different guidelines that, and I'm pretty sure all the players are going to be pretty hardcore that's going to get beat into them that, hey, when you're not here, when you're out in class, you make sure you're practicing all the guidelines that you need to be practicing because, now it's for real. And you guys want to play. Now it's on you guys. It's on us as a team if we want to play. So
it might be beneficial too, starting when they do, because that does give that initial time of students moving back on campus. That gives any initial time for the players to, catch anything, catch the virus or whatever it may be, it does give them some time to give them that 3 weeks that they would need if they did get it before, start of game
Yeah.
days. So that might help a lot, that it gives them that initial period of the students coming back is not right when they're starting to play the games.
Yeah. Um, so Wyatt Davis, we talked about this the other day. He opted out.
Yes.
I don't think we talked about Sean opting out because I think it happened. Yeah, it happened afterwards.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that
last
yet.
episode. So they both have opted out. Um, Wyatt, we know, has now opted back in. He didn't sign an agent. We know Sean hasn't signed an agent yet neither. Today he was on Sports Center. Today was his birthday. There was a lot of rumors going around that he was going to celebrate his birthday by signing with an agent. I think that's been kind of postponed at least a day. He said he was going to kind of think stuff over, and so we're probably not going to know about him for another day or two. I would assume, but at least we know we're getting Wyatt back, and it definitely seems like Justin's not opting out. I mean, he had his tweet up within a couple minutes of the decision that let's go. So I mean, it seems like maybe Wade might be the only one that's out, but it seems like everybody in. Not every team in the Big Ten, as we've seen from our rivals up north, can say that now because they had two big drops on them today.
I don't even know were they just like, there's no chance we can compete against Ohio State? I'm not even going to play around with this. Like, did they not want to play? And now they force their hand. So now they're like, well, I guess I got to be the one to opt out since they're giving us that option again. I don't get it. I mean, Nico Collins, it sounded like this has been done for days.
It sounds like
this is the first I heard about it today, wasn't?
Yeah, that's the first I heard about it. That was the first time I ever seen anybody posting about it. And the McCaffrey thing, I read a couple of their insiders up there, and it seems like that might be more that he didn't win the job.
Joe Milton beat him out?
Yeah, and Bruce Feldman kind of mentioned that too. He didn't win the job, so I think that was just more that he didn't win the job, and it's time for him maybe to move on. I don't know, but so it seems like we'll be at least in a better starting position than them, knock on wood that, now that, we stay healthy, that's going to be the big thing going forward for everybody is that, we're dealing with, you're dealing with something that is contagious and it's a lot different than just somebody breaking their leg and stuff like that. So,
right.
I mean, you don't want, and from the way that I've heard somebody say as low as 5 players could catch it and they could pause for an entire week, and I've seen them as high as 7 players. So I mean, it's not giving you a lot of window room that, I mean, on an 85 player scholarship.
My understanding is 7.5%. If they are contagious, test positive, then you got to shut down for a week.
Yeah, so it's definitely
smart.
Yeah, it's strict. The 21 day, that I think the 21 day thing was the biggest head scratcher to me, just because. And after I read some of the stuff, I do get it. I do understand it. I think that they want to make sure that they're fully testing for all the heart related issues, and some of that stuff doesn't really show up until after the 14-day mark. So I get that. It's just none of the guidelines anywhere else said 21 days. So I think that's kind of stung everybody. But again, got to keep everybody's got to do their part. And this goes to Ohio State students too. I mean, now you get in football back. So you know what, be responsible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of that, the 21 days, I'm wondering how much of that was to, get Michigan and Rutgers to sign off on it. That's
Probably.
what they wanted.
I think you brought this up earlier, and I mean, I don't want to speculate a lot, but I mean, what the hell, we'll throw it out there that it might have been an attempt to throw in a poison pill in there, and maybe they didn't realize that some of the schools wanted to play that bad that they're willing to, maybe that was a kind of a thing. Well, we won't agree until it's a 21-day period, and
right, I know.
that. A couple schools like Ohio State won't agree to something like that, and they ended up agreeing. I mean,
football, hell, that means so much to Ohio State. So That's honestly what I thought maybe it was they tried to give some ridiculous timetable or absence for players that tested positive, and they thought that everyone was going to be like, no, there's no way we could even have a season with that. And Ohio
Yeah.
State called their bluff and agreed on it. So
Yeah.
we'll deal with the 21 days. Hopefully
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. Keep
Yeah.
everyone in a bubble, man.
Exactly.
Justin Fields, lock his ass up right now. Put him in
Well,
a bubble.
I think Justin's still primarily. I think all his classes are still online.
Yeah, I
Like,
think so too. But
and I have a feeling a lot of the Buckeye players' classes are online. Weren't they a lot of them given the choice of whether? I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of places were given choice. I don't know if Ohio State was one of them. Wasn't a lot of places given choice? You could either go online or go to class, and so I don't know what Ohio State's protocols were. That
if any university has the resources and the will to create a bubble for their players, it's Ohio State. So I'm sure that staff is thinking tirelessly how they're going to keep these guys away from the general public.
and they've done this. I mean, you think about it with your season was taken away from you, and they've still been testing kids. I know they've started ramping back up to twice a week, a week or so ago, but like they've still been under control under this whole situation, and the university is only at a 2.2% rate, which is below any thresholds that could get. I mean, some of the protocols in there is that campus community is taken into consideration on this. So I mean, there's a lot of different things that you have to take into consideration on this. So I mean, so far, at least on our side of it, everything's looking pretty good, at least going into this phase.
Yeah. No, I feel good about it. Like I said, if any college has the resources and will to make sure that their team plays football, it's Ohio State. And I think with everything that's outlined, I think the rest of the Big Ten schools can get on board with that. It was kind of interesting though. Like Kirk Ferentz was almost, I don't want to say he was disappointed, but I was listening to his interview earlier and it was like, well, we had no idea we were going to be back. We thought we were coming back in January. So it's going to be a challenge getting everyone on the same page. Like
Yeah,
I
think
I figured they would be jumping for joy.
I think part of that's probably coaches speak too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they were the ones that voted. They voted not to cancel. So I mean, and I think any one of these guys should be at a point should have realized in the last week what was getting ready to happen. I mean, there was a lot of smoke out there. I know some down players like to say, well, there wasn't trusted sources giving out the smoke. I mean, these are still sources. I mean, and I'm not talking about certain random Twitter personalities. I mean, there's actual media that, they might be local media, but they do have sources and, they do talk to people. And I'm not just unlike the couple of the people in the national media think they only talk to the coaches. They talk to people in the athletic department. They have sources in the university offices. I mean, they have sources within these schools. So, I mean, they do know stuff that's going on.
The national freaking media, man.
Yeah.
Once again, they were at it.
I think today was probably a very hard day for some of them
Well, the funny thing is you got your guys that are saying the public foot stomping doesn't work or two coaches did more harm than good. But honestly, the public ass kissing made them look like freaking idiots during all this. So
yeah.
I can't be, I couldn't be happier to see that how this played out and kind of just seeing them shut the hell up a little bit. So I'm happy with that.
And you saw today that, and I think over the last couple of days is that, I think they were paying a little bit more attention to the pressure that was being put at them. I mean, I know. Michigan's president. I mean, he survived a no confidence vote from his faculty by only a few votes this morning or earlier. So, I mean, and that's over other issues. That has nothing to do with football. But I mean, at a point, like I saw a writer from one of the Michigan papers say, that's just too many fires to deal with right now. And
I'm sure it is.
and he didn't have the political willpower to really take on both issues. I mean, he has a very big issue going on at the school that, I mean, they have students making videos up there that, they're basically feeling like they're in prison because they're not allowed leaving their dorms.
Those are kind of sad to watch.
Yeah. And then you got, the faculty getting all ticked off at him that they have horrible protocols supposedly on campus. It's safe for all their students to go back to school with, obviously doesn't sound like anywhere near as stringent protocols as Ohio State's put into place, and but it's unsafe to go play football. So
I know it's just okay. So I think they're gonna play the season without a hitch. I have a feeling they're getting a full season, and I hope you feel the same way.
I think they're going to get a full. The rapid testing part of it is. I mean, I heard Barry talking about it today. I heard Gene talking about it today. I think that is the game changer, and they got the fact that they can get this every day, and these kids are going to be taking these tests 7 days a week, all in the morning, and they're gonna. And if they get a hit, you can get the kid out of rotation immediately to go take his, the more aggressive test. And then if there was a couple people that were around him, you could pull them out too, just to have them take that PCR test, which is the more, I mean, I don't know all that goes into it. I know that's the confirmation test. So the antigen test is the initial test, and then you have to take a PCR test. So I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know any of the science behind any of that stuff. I just saw letters and they say PCR and antigen. So
right. Smarter people than us tell us what that means.
Yeah. So
and they say it in ways I still don't understand what they're saying though.
Yeah. So I just know you need to take a second test to confirm it, which is good because I mean I think we talked about this on the last episode. I mean we've had way too many false positives at different places or one of our previous episodes that I mean at least confirm the damn thing that you do have it, and
right.
So hopefully nobody tries to torpedo anything of any of these schools. I made a kind of a joke earlier on Twitter, but it's kind of serious too. If if any of these schools are not taking it seriously, they should get fined by the conference. I mean, I'm sorry. And if one of those schools are Rutgers and Maryland, they should get booted.
Yeah, kick them out. I mean, that's kind of what I read though. I read that the Rutgers president that he realized the long-term detriment to opting out from the season. So why would you pay Greg Schiano all that money and be the one to opt out? So I'm glad he changed his mind on that. Now, with it being said that you think we're going to have a full season like I do you give the Big Ten a pass on this? Or is this still the dumbest damn thing you've ever seen handled?
Well, and I put out on Twitter this morning, do I think that, am I nervous about the 8 games and straight 9 weeks of playing? Yeah, I am very nervous about it. It is literally giving them no air.
Zero room.
Do I think that they could have on August 11th been like, hey, we're going to push the season back to October 10th and we're going to view the next couple weeks, and we'll be honest with everybody. Right now, we're leaning on canceling the season, but this is going to give us a few extra weeks. Mm-hmm. We need to see new testing become available over the next couple weeks. We need to see people within the country start taking this maybe a little bit more serious. They could have listed out a whole bunch of stuff,
right,
and still pushed it back. And then, you know what? And I would have said, we want to kind of see how some of the other conferences deal with it. And that would, I mean, to them, it probably looks like we're being indecisive on that. And they probably would have been crucified by the national media. Oh, look how the Big Ten is looking indecisive. Well, you know what? That at the end of the day would have looked a lot smarter. And I just think they were I think they could have pushed it back a few weeks to the beginning of October, see how everything played out, see if we got these new tests. And look, we got a bunch of new testing capabilities came into things, and you make people put their heads together. You make these schools go back to their medical staffs and be like, hey, we need to start working on something here. And you don't think, I mean, it sounded like Ohio State was really they were really what led the charge and getting a lot
Right.
of this stuff. You don't think Ohio State still would have did that? I mean, I think they would have. They have this phenomenal medical school. They have a phenomenal team doctor. And, I think that would have really pushed them into really looking into the ways that they needed to get this done. Um, I think they made a stupid decision. I think and I'm not, it might have had some politics to it. It might have not. I think they freaked out over a couple of things, and
Yeah, I agree.
they and when they freaked out, they just made a rash decision. And instead of, being more collective about it, and what's really killed them since that decision is they weren't transparent. And I don't care what anybody says that they were. I know some of the defenders have come out and said they were transparent. They were really not that transparent.
No,
You had enough,
they went into hiding for a month.
yeah, and you've had coaches, you know, asking questions that never got answered. And I see some people, came hard on some of these coaches. I saw Mr. Wolken, he's becoming my favorite right
That
now.
guy.
That Ryan Day and James Franklin did more harm than good. And I bet it made his blood boil today when he heard that Ryan Day said he talked to Franklin every day.
Oh yeah.
So to me, that was all that stuff was planned, and he probably didn't want to admit it, but he probably talked to Harbaugh a couple times.
Oh, I mean, what a stupid take, though. And that's the thing, though. How can you say Ryan Day and Ryan Day and James Franklin did more harm than good? Jim Harbaugh was at a protest for the season. What are you talking about? But the fact that they came out with that and pretty much made it sound like since these guys talked out about it, the presidents were going to definitely say no. I don't. That was just wishful thinking. I mean, what a dumb take to have that the presidents, because the coach was upset that he couldn't coach football, the presidents were going to say no. And I mean, some of these guys are still doubling down on it. I can't believe it. But
Yeah,
it is what it is. Like I said, I'm just thrilled to be back. I don't know, man. I mean, it's exciting. I think they definitely have a shot to get to that national title game now. So
yeah,
I'm excited for it. At least playoffs.
yeah. At least let's before we wrap this up, because I'm sure we're going to get more into depth on some of this on the next when we actually do a full episode. And us, if we get talking, this emergency quick podcast will end up being 2 hours. So
no, I hear you.
But let's talk a little bit about the playoffs. So Barry Alvarez did say this morning on the Big Ten press conference that they have been in contact with the committee. The Kevin Warren actually was in contact with the chairman. The committee the president of the committee or whatever is actually the athletic director for Iowa, and they said the Big Ten's fine. That this will get them in. It's barely going to get them in. I mean, it's no time to wait. It's like one of those fishing tournaments when you catch that last boat out catches the biggest fish and they are hauling ass.
Oh yeah.
Get back in before the timer. So that was that was the Big Ten. So it seems like we're going to be okay on the eligibility part. Now, what the committee does, you can't really get into, Gene kind of made it, he's like, the committee will just have to deal with it, but this will probably be the year that we are going to there might be more showing than anything else. So I think that's little Gene's way to Ryan that, it's no holds bar on anybody.
Run it up. Yeah. That's what you have to do. So yeah, I mean, I heard Paul Feinbaum. He said that he doesn't see a way that if an undefeated Big Ten team's there, that they're going to keep them out. So, yeah. I don't think people should read too much into the whole 9-game thing. I mean, they let Notre Dame get into a playoff with just playing 12 games. They didn't have a conference champion on there. They've let teams, that haven't won their conference title games, haven't gone to the conference title games, go in there. They didn't have a 13th game to play. So I wouldn't get too held up on that. Really, I think it's just getting all the games in is what's going to be the big deal. But in the same token, though, if if they are missing games, I'm sure other teams are going to miss games too.
Yeah.
So if it gets to the point where the Big Ten can't play, I think that means the SEC and the other teams can't play as well, and they're going to have to push back the season altogether then. And what that would look like then, who knows?
Yeah. On the whole thing, I mean, I saw some people on Twitter being like, this doesn't put us in an advantage against the second SEC school. And honestly, the way I look at it right now,
you're reading too much into it.
I think Ohio State is fine. A 9-0 Ohio State. At that point, and I think a 9-0 Penn State's fine too, and probably a 9-0 Wisconsin. If any of those teams go through, they're probably fine at the teams that are considered as the top echelon teams.
Hell, if Michigan found out a way, if Michigan found a way to go 9-0, Michigan would get in.
Yeah, if I was worried about a second SEC school, I'm more worried today now with the Big Ten coming back into the conversation. I'm more worried if I'm Oklahoma or Texas, because the Big 12, I mean, you had 3 losses this week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just hurting their schedule.
Not against good competition either.
And Ohio State, is going to play how the schedule is going to break down. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. So pre the COVID schedule release. So this was the original schedule, the 9 games. So we play all 6 teams on our side. So yeah, that's Indiana, Rutgers, and Maryland, but it's also Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State. And then we were scheduled to play Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois. So we're keeping 8 of those 9 games. We're keeping the 6 for sure on our side and 2 of the other 3. And that's your 8-game schedule. I'm assuming they're going to keep everything the same, home and away. So we had Nebraska and Iowa were both home. Illinois was on the road. So they would have to drop a home game. So I'm assuming we're going to lose Nebraska or Iowa. That's just my opinion on that. But still, that's another good mark. I mean, those are teams that win games, So, I mean, I think I'd rather it be Nebraska. I'd rather keep on the schedule, even though we all love Nebraska right now. But
those are my boys. I love those guys.
But I'm sorry, that's even with Rutgers, Maryland, and Indiana. That's a better schedule than any team in the Big 12 is going to put out there. So,
Big 12's garbage, man.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it. I would be more worried about it if I was the Big 12 champion. They got
to go undefeated.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know they're garbage, but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you ready to give any closing thoughts or anything? I don't really got too much more to say, unless if you got more you want to go into.
No, I think we're good for this one. I just wanted to get something out there, something we can throw up. I mean, obviously, if you're watching us right now, there's no opportunity to, get together and record the show how we normally do. John's got his pop dolls over there.
I don't got the beautiful bar backdrop today. I got the pop dolls in the basement.
So, but no, I think I'm happy with what happened today. I'm a little concerned about a couple things, but I'm not going to let that weigh down on my happiness. I want to start talking about instead of bitching about the Big Ten every episode. I want to start now talking about, and I know we still have a couple weeks to go, but we finally can start getting into some football.
Right.
Like I think
we can feel confident for a while, and it's cautious optimism, but we can at least feel confident we're going to get a season. We can start talking about a season.
So hopefully on our next show, we hope we have the schedule released. They said it'll be later this week. So, I mean, that's only a couple more days. So hopefully they get that released, that we can talk about it. We have other games coming up from other conferences. We're a week away from the SEC starting. So, I mean, I'm looking forward. I think we can really now, with confidence start, dealing. I mean, I think maybe on our next episode, I mean, we'll get more into, I think, some of our concerns about the strict protocols and, some of the stuff. But I think now it's kind of, we're turning the page with us, and it's kind of going forward. Now we got a football season, and, I'm looking forward to talking about some of the Power Five games from last week, and then some of the games coming up. Looking forward to seeing the SEC play. Looking forward to having a full SEC conference only schedule. I think that's going to be pretty fantastic. So
yeah,
I'm in a good mood.
I'm in a good mood too. It can't believe it took us this long to get here, but we're going to get football, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. I can't wait.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, I think we're going to sign off with that. Before we sign off, just wanted to remind everybody to, for the YouTube, just remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit all notifications, give us our likes, and throw us some comments. We've had actually had a pretty good week for us. That we have a lot more engaging, at least people starting to kind of like us and retweet us and stuff like that. So we're getting out there. We want to keep that going. So we're hoping that we'd get some more followers on the podcast side of it. So, and if you're listening to the audio, we added a new one this week, radio.com, which is CBS's affiliate, I believe, for their station. So you can find us on there, Buckeye Bar Talk, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast. We host on Anchor, so any of those places you can find us, and you can find all of our links for social media. We have a link tree. It's linktr.ee/Buckeye Bar Talk, one word. You can find all of our podcast links, the YouTube link, and all of our social medias there. So signing off, I'm Mike.
I'm John. OH.
IO.
Go Big Red. All right.